The Gypsy King Alexander Usyk's latest training videos have sent the boxing world into a frenzy as more and more boxing professionals continue to pick him as the favorite before the fight, voicing concerns about his footwork, athleticism, and body movements, which appear to be his main weapons. His new. Speaking to Seconds Out former British heavyweight champion David Price, training sessions have shown that many boxing professionals who had even lined up on Tyson Fury's side of the fence were forced to decamp after witnessing this. Price praised Usyk's exceptional ability to find another gear when things get tough and stated that the rematch would be another Usyk points win. "I simply believe that something more will be needed. Extra special to beat USYK, or he's going to have to be on the decline, and I just don't think he's there yet. He pulls it out of the bag when it's needed and finds that little bit extra when it's needed. In the end, Joshua fights, and I always feel like he has that little bit extra in the reserves no matter who he fights, whether it's Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua. He just seems to be able to pull that little bit more out of the tank than wherever he is, even when his opponents are at the top." Few guys are more qualified to make a prediction about Alexander Usyk versus Tyson Fury 2 than Fabio. Music, the man he couldn't defeat, was the other one who consistently gets the same outcome. Wardley, I think it's a lot of the same, to be honest. The British and Commonwealth heavyweight champion, who has sparred with both guys throughout his ascent to prominence, told Boxing Social, "I am confident about who will get their hand raised when they rematch on December 2nd. I believe Usyk will approach the fight with the same mentality he has used in all of his tight victories. Keep your focus on the target at all times, without losing a beat or a step, perhaps even Fury." Although Tyson Fury is preparing for his heavyweight title rematch against Alexander Usyk later this month, his recent training update has some boxing fans worried. Fury said that his camp wasn't ideal, that he wasn't in the best place, that he wasn't in the best shape, or whatever. Perhaps the loss was what he needed to get back on track, and perhaps he comes out differently. Later this month, Tyson Fury is preparing for his much-awaited rematch with Alexander Usyk. And fans are speculating about the Gypsy King's condition. On December 21st in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the two heavyweight titans will square off again, reigniting their fierce battle from their first fight in May. USYK won their first fight by a split decision, giving Fury their first professional defeat. At age 37, he became the first person since Lennox Lewis to unify the division's titles by capturing Fury's World Boxing Council crown. But he has given up the International Boxing Federation title currently held by Daniel Dubois, choosing Fury over the mandatory challenger Fury at 36 and 34. Triumphs from 36 fights, including one draw, while Usyk has an unbeaten record of 22 victories. With fight night approaching, each competitor is doing well. Adjusting their readiness, fans have begun to debate Fury's physical appearance on social media after he recently shared a glimpse of his regimen on Instagram, revealing his muscular efforts with the caption, "Working my ass off to regain the championship." Two comments on Instagram stood out in particular. One said, "He looks old there," while another said, "Bro looks." 47 social media commentary about heavyweight boxer Fury's physical condition ahead of an upcoming fight is very telling. One Instagram user openly expressed concerns that Fury doesn't look nearly as good as he did in the previous fight, and he lost that, "so I'm worried." Another observer made a comment about the possible long-term effects of Fury's weight fluctuation, saying that Fury's weight fluctuates over the years and that perhaps it's caught up with him if his damaged goods. Fury will have an advantage if he can make it more concentrated and somewhat more astute to win, as it turns out. Another fan's critique of Fury's look during my rematch was direct. "Fury has never been a body beautiful fighter, but I must admit that he looks terrible today. I can see Usyk, whose fitness is unquestionable, defeating Fury this time." Shane McGinn, another renowned trainer, also selected Usyk for victory and explained why Usyk would be the chosen one to deliver him, leaning towards USYK in winning the latter rounds and maintaining form, "so I think it will be fairly equal down the stretch." Fury's first career loss caused him to make his decision, and he explained why. "I believe he might just be picking up rounds with his activity." I asked McGinn what kind of fight he was expecting, and he said that they would both have enough power to knock each other out, but I think they have enough power to keep each other honest and earn each other's respect. If that's the case, Fury will try to long-arm him and slow down the pace as much as possible. Have I had to push earlier in the fight? Derek was the closest person to sort of physically impose himself, and he did that early. It might take Usyk a few rounds to really fire off that, but once he learns to do so, he can create an angle, go to the body, and do other things. It might turn into a volume game where Usyk throws more punches and works at a higher tempo. Fury simply cannot keep up with Usyk because he's a slick street. I believe they made the right decision to take some of the pressure off him because he will have to match him in footwork and speed. Believe it will be a really thrilling battle, and I'm really looking forward to it. I don't think it will be one of those fights when we leave feeling like when asked what he thought Usyk could do to win, McGinn, skill as point yes prediction, said, I think it's not try to load up fire 2 or 3 shots to get you in rather than one slip and a big shot. You can't allow him to lean on you when you're inside, so move your head a lot, go below him, and shoot your legs in. He's quite skilled at those tiny moves on the inside, so you can't allow him force his bulk on you. Rather than trying to knock him out with a single stroke, simply land and keep the pace. Fighting at an unreasonable pace with high force Fury, he said that his only goal is to always slow down, find his rhythm, enter his comfort zone, do a lot of feints, move a lot, and then just fire off those angles. If you keep it up, I believe he can maintain both of them for a longer amount of time, which is, in my opinion, one of the reasons he will make a close points decision. When asked who he would rather train with, McGinn stated, in terms of where they are in their career, I would rather work with Usyk. USYK is so shrewd that he's simply dodging the line. He can take it to you and then drop back or take a side, constantly changing the angles. I believe Fury has a good chance of winning the fight, but everyone believed he would win until the Francis Ngannou bout. It's a technical fight, and I believe that Usyk has a lot more to his game than Tyson Fury. He went on to say that if you were to boil Usyk down to a middleweight, he would be very effective, but if you were to do the same with Fury, his style and lack of power per weight would almost make him less effective at another weight. As a result, I would be more excited to work with Usyk, and it's going to be one of those bouts where he might win a few rounds, and he might win them quite big because he might maul him and land a few shots, but once again, you got a guy that's nimble, that's still really there, and I think he'll be able to get his wind and Nick is right on point. Taking into account Fury's size, Usyk is adjusting his training camp accordingly, even implying that he might weigh a little more than usual. The fight plan will change, but I'll continue to prepare as Usyk stated on the overlap. I'll do a lot of swimming, running, boxing, and yes, I worked 9 months. Missed. Yes, there will be new exercises because Fury is a little different height, thus his boxing technique and combos will be unusual. The amount of labor to be done will not decrease, on the contrary, it will increase. I'll put on the weight I need to perform. Music. When asked directly if he believes Fury to be a more challenging fighter than Joshua Usyk, he replied in the positive. Indeed, Usyk stated that his style is unusual. Fury is more bold. Usyk also provided an explanation of his training schedule, which is notoriously difficult even by the standards of elite prize fighting. Happy New Year! My son's birthday was missed, and I missed the first workout. 5 a.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we have sparring sessions. On Saturdays, as you can see, I run for 10, 15, or 20 kilometers. Mostly, it's aerobic, followed by a second workout at noon, if it's in a swimming pool, where I swim for at least 2 kilometers. The training session starts at 6:00 p.m. Sunday is my day off, and I use it to attend church and pray. Tony Bellew, a former boxing world champion, is certain that Alexander Usyk will defeat Tyson Fury again in their rematch. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think he'll win now, I think he'll lose again. However, he could throw a freaking punch. And I believe he will lose very close this time. When Usyk defeated Fury back in May, the 37-year-old scored a narrow victory, becoming the first undisputed heavyweight champion of the world since Lennox Lewis in 1999. The official score totals following an intense battle at Kingdom Marina were 115-112 Usyk, 114-113 Fury and 114-113 Usyk. His Excellency Turki Alik declared that the rematch between Usyk and Fury is scheduled on December 21 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The judges' scorecards showed a split decision victory. The 41-year-old Bellew, who memorably faced Usyk for the undisputed cruiserweight title in 2018, lost to the Ukrainian by 8th round knockout for Tyson Fury because, well, he can't control that. You have to realize that he pressured the entire fight and walked the 6'9" although Fury is certain that he can win the rematch. Bellew thinks that Usyk will be too much for the Brit. When asked if the Gypsy King could win, the Bomber told IFL TV that he could win and that anything could happen, but if I'm being completely honest, I don't think he will win. Instead, I think he'll lose again, and this time, I think he'll lose really clearly because Usyk will be on the defensive, which is Tyson Fury's worst nightmare because that's one that you must realize that he pushed the entire fight, walked the 6'9" and 20-stone man down, and bullied him. He went on, but you can only imagine what he does when he fights to his strengths and does his best because his best is fighting on the defensive, which is how I always end up knocking him out in the rematch. Anyone who studies him and knows Usyk as well as I do will know that you must bring him to you because anyone I have fought more than once has been eliminated in the rematch. It's going to take a special guy to do that over 12 rounds, but it's possible. There is a way to beat him, but these big boys just can't do it because they don't have the engine to stick with him. And that's the way to defeat him. You have to counter him and feint, you have to be able to sharpshoot with him, you have to be able to box with him, you have to be able to offset him, but you have to be able to continuously do all these things day after round. Street man down. He tormented him and talked him down. But just think of what he does when he fights to his strengths and performs his best because his best is to attack people from behind. In an interview with Queensberry Promotions, Anthony Joshua shared his thoughts on the impending major rematch between Usyk and Fury. Like Bellew, AJ thinks the Ukrainian has the advantage and will win. In his interview with Queensberry Promotions, the British man also called the Ukrainian a class act. I think it's going to be a tough fight early on and then I feel like Usyk will edge it again, he added. Operator, which is why he believes he will defeat the Gypsy King. He is a skilled operator, and I believe that Usyk is among the finest, therefore I believe he will prevail. Frush was right when he said that Usyk would win the May 1st round bout against Fury, with the Ukrainian winning by split decision. Joshua will join the winner of all 4 world heavyweight belts. First of all, how are you, buddy? Everything is okay, thank you very much. Look, I get that many people are worried about the harm the Gypsy King experienced earlier in the year, especially the dramatic ninth, going into their rematch on December 21st as the underdog. It's going to be fascinating. The first fight was close, or at least very close, until Fury was knocked down in round 9. He was severely injured and dropped in that round. Speaking to Casino.org, FR said that he thinks his countrymen will lose to Usyk once more. Although Usyk is 37 years old and older than Fury, he lives life to the fullest. In fact, if the fight had ended in round 9, it would have been stopped by the ropes holding him up, and Usyk was lining his chin up when the referee intervened to stop it because the ropes held him up. If it had been me, I would have continued punching until the referee grabbed me out of the way, but since he is such a generous man, he sort of stopped. I looked at the referee, and he's a real character. Having had 3 hard fights against Deontay Wilder, Fury has more miles on his clock than he did on the floor versus Francis Ngannou. I would anticipate a Usyk victory, most likely on points. I couldn't rule out the late stoppage because, if Fury goes for it as he says he would, there has been a lot of conjecture about whether he will modify his strategy before the crucial rematch, even though he maintains that he should have. Fury and Usyk will not be making any significant changes because his hand was raised during their first bout. Nevertheless, when they rematch next month, they will only be vying for 3 of the 4 main sanctioning body titles after the IBF disqualified the Ukrainian. Fury has promised his supporters a knockout, and it is anticipated that he would take a more aggressive stance in the rematch. Andy Lee, the Manchester City coach, asserts that Fury was incapable of engaging in appropriate sparring prior to his last outing with Usyk after sustaining a cut above his right before their initial planned meeting, which could prove to be a decisive change for their next encounter. It was a close fight. I thought it could have been a draw, but I had no arguments with Usyk getting the decision. Lee told TalkSport fights are won and lost in the ring but also in training and preparation because of the rearranged date because of the cut. Tyson couldn't spar, whereas Tyson Fury in that rank. Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it, because he's every time they pit something against him, or when Tyson would have a victory, he would have to ease off, back off, and regain his energy before continuing. In the meantime, it pushed Usyk to step forward and gave him the motivation to take it because he was taking a break. If Fury wins their rematch, He insists they will have to fight for a third time to prove it. Something new he finds and he comes out on top, and I think that's a skill in itself.